Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Matt Lateplo, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from MTM Critical Metals. Please note you can submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Steve Regal, President and Managing Director, Flash Metals USA of MTM Critical Metals, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol MTMCF and on the ASX under the symbol MTM. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for our presentation regarding MTM Critical Metals and our U.S. subsidiary, which is Flash Metals USA. We basically are a disruptive technology company commercializing the flash joule heating technology. And key questions that we always like to ask is, what if we could extract critical metals from waste economically and sustainably? And the second, what if we could improve the economics and sustainability of recovery of refractory minerals and refractory mineral processing? So the two key areas that we're disrupting are the processing of scrap computers, scrap batteries, and other indium and gallium scrap from making semiconductors to make them more economical and more sustainable. And the other one is the processing of ores that come up out of the ground to recover lithium, as well as rare earth elements and similar critical metals on a more economic basis. The current state of play on processing electronic scrap and end-of-life batteries, as well as the processing of ores coming up out of the ground to recover lithium to make new batteries, or to recover rare earth elements to help make magnets and other parts of the technology economy, is very old technology. It's technology that was developed initially in the 1880s and 1890s with rotary kilns. And in general, it's very capital intensive, fairly dirty in terms of emissions and water usage, as well as has a very high consumption of acids and creates a lot of byproducts. So the current processes are called pyrometallurgy and hydrometallurgy, and these are used all around the world. Most times these are 20, 30, 40 step processes, very involved, and as I said, very capital intensive. Going forward, many of the critical metals that are used in semiconductors, wind turbines, batteries for appliances, batteries for phones, batteries for electric vehicles depend on a set of materials called rare earth elements, or magnetic rees. And the value chain right now is dominated by China for many of these materials. And this is both the mining of the material and, more importantly, the refining and processing of the material. Most recently, in the last 10 days, China has come out and announced that they're increasing the strictness and the pressure on their banning of the export of gallium, germanium, antimony, and other critical metals, and they may be adding others to those bans. They had a ban in place for a year or more, and now they're making it more strict and making it so other countries can't re-export materials to the U.S. So MTM Critical Metals, our key technology is flash joule heating, which in a nutshell is using electricity, quick bursts of electricity to heat up materials that have a resistive heating effect. And we combine this flash joule heating with chlorine gas, and we do add in some proprietary catalysts to create a situation where we can rapidly heat and then extract target metals from waste materials and from ores. And the flash joule heating is licensed from Rice University in Houston, Texas. We have a global license for the application of flash joule heating, or FJH as we call it. we have a global license for applying that to waste materials and to ores coming up out of the ground. One example of a technology that was developed by the same Rice University team led by Dr. James Tour is a company called Weebit Nano, which is traded on the OTC as well and has created over $250 million US in market value in the last 4 years. The same research team at Rice has also developed the flash joule heating technology that we have licensed. Just taking a step back and looking at mineral processing and waste processing to extract metals, there were many key milestones over the years that were developed, including the Bessemer converter for making steel on a continuous basis. Rotary kilns that I mentioned are still in use for many of the ore processing, and electronic scrap and battery processing were developed in the 1880s and the 1890s. And then a very important one was developed about 60 years ago, an electric arc furnace, which is using electricity to melt steel scrap and convert that into new steel product, liquid steel. When the electric arc furnace using electricity first came out for the manufacturing of steel, it was there was many discussions from industry saying it was too small, it couldn't be scaled up. And that it used too much electricity, too much power, and all of these issues that were initially brought up have been dealt with. And now, at this point in time, electric arc furnaces are producing in the range of over 60% of all steel produced globally. And I bring that up as an analogy to what we are doing at MTM, which is applying electricity to mineral processing of waste and mineral processing of ores. Just a quick example of how electric arc furnaces have come to dominate the steel manufacturing market. In the beginning, it was very small, and after 50 or 60 years, you can see the line that's going up to the right is the electric arc furnace share in steel manufacturing globally, and that the story is clear that using electricity to process steel has worked out extremely well and has become very economic. In terms of flash joule heating and the ores and the waste streams, we are working closely with Rice and then scaling up here in Houston with Nighthawk Engineering. Some of the materials that we've had great success in processing are spent end-of-life lithium-ion batteries that would come from an electric car, a battery that's been used and is at end of life from an electric car. Electronic scrap, so crushed up computers and cell phones. We've had great success in recovering gold and silver and palladium and copper and other metals from electronic scrap. Then semiconductor scrap, where we can recover gallium and indium and other critical metals. And then, of course, mine tailings. Many of the lithium mines in the world have tailings where the lithium is unrecoverable. And we've been doing testing on the fines from those mines, and we've had great success in recovering key metals such as lithium, and then key metals such as the rare earths from other ores. The lithium case is a very good example where when you mine spodumene, which is the key ore for producing lithium, there's about a 25-step process, very capital intensive, for refining, concentrating and refining the lithium. And this process is standard across the world. And you could see in this picture, kind of the cylindrical red drums are these rotary kilns that I've been mentioning that are basically technology that were developed in the 1880s and the 1890s. Just as kind of an illustration, behind on this slide are the key unit operations for taking spodumene out of the ground and producing lithium. And the X's indicate the parts of the existing flow sheets or processes that would be eliminated based on using the MTM flash joule heating technology. We basically grind up the material, flash it, then we have to wash it, and we do some recovery of lithium chloride, but many of the processes go away. So the capital side of it is much lower, the capital intensity, as well as the power usage and the usage of very strong acids, and the byproducts are much more benign. So right now, the state of play for us is we've been scaling up from the lab side, which Rice had done over the last 2 or 3 years, to the bench scale here in Houston with Nighthawk Engineering. And we're designing our 1 ton per day FJH demonstration plant. The design is well in hand. And the good news is we figured out how to do a continuous process as well as a semi-batch process, which means the scale up will be much more economic and higher throughput. And so the design that we're working on, we will have completed in Q1 of this year, and then we'll be going to procurement. The procurement should be done sometime in the middle of the year, and we should be in startup and operations at the end of Q3, heading into Q4 of next year. I also wanted to provide some examples of comparable companies that trade on the NASDAQ and the ASX in the metals area. Hyperion X is an interesting one. Technology is focused in on processing and recovering and producing titanium. Came out of a university in Utah and has developed nicely. Has the market cap is increased significantly. There are a number of other very similar companies that are in the metals processing and ore recovery area, and similar technologies that we're showing here that are comparables for MTM. We recently announced a collaboration and strategic partnership with a company that's US-based called Indium Inc. A great company that's been around since the 20s, focused in on indium products, products made with indium, gallium, and other critical and precious metals. And so we're working with Indium to develop the flash joule heating specifically to treating semiconductor scrap and scrap that comes from the production of semiconductors and similar products to recover gallium and indium and germanium and other critical metals. This is important from MTM's point of view in that with their technical team, we're confirming and validating all of our processes and working on the scale up of the technology. The other interesting thing with Indium is that one of the things they will be working on with MTM is the providing and the sourcing of this high value scrap that comes from semiconductor production and other high tech production processes, bringing in scrap that's the leftovers from producing key products. There's always production scrap left over, and this material needs to be processed to recover the valuable germanium and indium and gallium. And part of the commercial aspect of this is the value of these metals is very, very high. Gallium, indium, germanium. They're in the range of 500,000 to 900,000 US dollars per ton, and going up based on the ban that's occurred, the enforcement of the ban and the more strict ban that's been put in place or being put in place by China. So the value of these materials is very high on a per ton basis or per kilogram basis. Other strategic metals and rare earths are also, we can also recover them from ores, and we are literally processing a number of those streams this week and last week, and they're very important to the production of semiconductors, military technology, including radars and communications, and then renewable energy in the form of batteries as well as wind turbines. I've mentioned what's going to happen here with the enforcement of the gallium and germanium ban, and antimony has been added, and some other key minerals are being added. So it's basically underlines the opportunity and the need to onshore production a number of these materials, including scrap processing for gallium and indium and germanium. We also have some antimony type materials that are inbound for testing. As I mentioned, I'm not sure that we need to focus on it that much, but the supply chain of many of these materials is strongly dominated by China in terms of the refining and processing, as well as the mining of the materials. And the U.S. is dependent on many sources of import for critical metals, which is an area that's being focused on by the U.S. government and the DoD, as well as others, in terms of investing in the U.S. To onshore these materials and source them in a way that's more secure. Over the next 12 months, the key things that MTM is working on in Q4 here, we're continuing to optimize our processing of the rare earth elements as well as some e-scrap. We have another stream that we are working on. When you manufacture aluminum, you take bauxite raw material from the ground and you make alumina, and then that gets further processed into aluminum. There's a significant waste stream that's created when you make aluminum. When you make alumina, it's called red mud, and there are 150 million tons a year of the red mud generated globally. So right now, MTM is working on processing red mud. We've successfully used the flash joule technology to recover iron, titanium, and aluminum from the red mud, which then allows the red mud to be used for other beneficial uses once the iron and titanium and aluminum are recovered. Can be used in cement and soil amendments and things like that. So that's a huge market. That's one of the things we're testing here in the fourth quarter. And we are talking to a number of global aluminum companies on collaboration approaches. And then going into next year, for the first 3 quarters, as I mentioned, we're completing our design process with Nighthawk Engineering. Then we'll be fabricating the demonstration plant, and then we'll be beginning operation of it towards Q3 and optimizing it into Q4, and working on optimizing the actual 1 ton per day plant on specific streams such as rare earth elements, red mud, as I mentioned, spent batteries, electronic scrap, and then, of course, the indium and gallium and germanium scrap. And then heading into Q4 and the following year, we'll be firming up and further developing our strategic partnerships and looking to deploy further units. I should mention, I think Matt mentioned on the intro that we started trading on the OTC today. So we have been an Australian ASX listed company under the ticker MTM. And then this morning we became listed on the OTC. So our OTC ticker is MTMCF. So there should be access to that now as well. So we have a disruptive technology that's helps reduce the capital intensiveness, the environmental impact, and most importantly is the economic returns. It reduces the cost of recovering metals from waste streams and very specific ores that are sources of critical metals, but potentially being processed in geographies and geopolitical situations that don't lend itself to long-term security of supply. So flash joule heating and MTM are disruptive technology. And as we move forward and commercialize the process with our industrial partners, we'll be creating value through having our own operating plants as well as licensing agreement and joint ventures. With that, I'll turn it over to questions and answers. If you have questions, please send them in. I see in our Q&A box that we have a number of questions, so we'll start taking those. Here, question number one: Indian partnership is huge given recent news out of China. Curious how you think about generative AI advancements and if you're currently using it or can see future applications to improve operational efficiencies. Rice University has actually been doing some work on using AI to upgrade and advance the specific steps that we're using in our process, and also to look for ways of sourcing the best and most optimal scrap. So we're going to partner with Rice on their tools that they're creating and start using those. Another question, can you discuss your capital position and needs for the next year to kick off production? Simon Adams, our CFO, is also here on the call. And Simon, did you want to go ahead and take that one?
Yes, thanks very much, Steve. Yes, we just finished off a capital raise, which raised Australian dollars 8 million. That will see us fully funded through the manufacturing stage of the 1 tonne a day plant, including the securing of the facilities for that equipment. So we're fully funded all through the 2025 year and beyond, and we don't feel that we'll need to raise any further funds outside of any non-dilutive funds that we might raise. I think there's a question to follow in relation to grant funding, which I'll leave to you, Steve. I'll hand back to you.
Thank you, Simon. Another question is, are you able to access any federal or state grants given your focus on critical metals? We are exploring a number of potential economic development opportunities here in the state of Texas, as well as the Department of Defense has a number of different programs through their DLA group that are of interest, and a number of our partners, industrial collaborative partners, are working on a couple of grants with them. So there are a number of opportunities out there that we're pursuing. We're also pursuing grant funding in Australia with the Australian government and the state government in Western Australia. Here's another question. What is the ownership of MTM, management, strategic, etc.? Simon, I'll let you take that first, and then I'll fill in behind.
Yeah, sure. So management, the board and management currently own about 2.5% of the equity of the company. There was a large proportion of the stock is owned by the vendors that introduced the flash joule heating technology to us. And they account for somewhere in the order of 8 to 9%. And the top 20 shareholders account for well over 30% of the stock. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Another question, are you working with extraction of Re from coal waste? We've had success in running tests on recovery of rare earths from coal waste in the past based on some work that's been done at Rice. And then recently we started a conversation with a very large company that has raw materials co-located with its coal. I can't speak about that in detail, but I can tell you that that's a significant opportunity that we are working on. Simon, do you see additional questions?
I think that's all we have at the moment, Steve.
Excellent. Well, we greatly appreciate everyone joining and listening to our presentation. And as Matt mentioned in the beginning, there are opportunities to sign up for one-on-one conversations with us using the virtual investor conference and OTC websites. Thank you, everyone, for your time. We appreciate it.